Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. We are live in Practical Magic, interactive training for higher perspectives. Welcome, welcome. I am Michelle Lee. I have a hair stuck on my lip, I think. And so excited. I just ran up the stairs. Um, so excited to talk about the latest information, our latest experience inside of the Matrix. And so when you tune in, let me know where you're tuning in from. Say hello. And remember, you can always ask your questions in the comments, and you can always leave ideas for me to take a higher perspective and share with you the higher perspective view of what's happening in the Matrix. This is where we talk about, we can't see the forest for the trees. So if we're down in the forest, you can only see so much, right? But when you rise above the forest, you can see the entire forest. You can see what's around it. And that's what higher perspectives is it's rising above and capturing the view of the Matrix and what's really going on in the Matrix. And, the Supreme Court has made some pretty incredible decisions that seem to fly in the face of our freedoms and what it means to live in this country, which absolutely has nothing to do with who we are as divine beings. So I really wanted to talk about that because there's a lot of emotion going on around these topics. And so remember, we're rising above. We're looking at remembering that, number one, we've talked about this. So far, Higher Perspectives has been pretty much about abortion, right? The last 2 weeks has been about abortion. And now today it's about the reversal of our ability to have a safe abortion, our rights, our freedoms to have a safe abortion. So I want to remind you, one of the first things we spoke about in Higher Perspectives was that our rights, our freedoms are innate. They are innate. Just as we discussed that within the Matrix, it can appear that someone can take a life, but life is eternal. Whether we are in physical form or not, life is eternal. And the same is true with our rights. Our rights are innate because we are human beings, because we are divine beings. Okay, so in the Matrix, it can appear that our rights can be given and taken away. And so let's talk about Roe v. Wade. And I have this great little letter that Michelle Obama wrote. And I absolutely love Michelle Obama. She's super, super cool, super, super powerful. And so what I know of her, I think she's really great. And she is a key player in the Matrix. She is not a person who has chosen to be a spiritual seeker for higher perspectives. She's definitely a key player in the Matrix. And I'm not going to go through this whole letter, but I'm going to go through a first couple of parts because it really takes us into how the Matrix works, how energetics are used to create separation. So I wanted to use this as an example. Here we go. Michelle Obama says, I'm heartbroken today. I'm heartbroken for the people around this country who just lost the fundamental right to make informed decisions about their own bodies. There it is. We already discussed that one, right? About losing a right. In the Matrix, it can appear that people give us rights and take away our rights. Now, in the higher perspectives as spiritual beings, that is just a playground we're playing in. Florence Scovel Shinn says it very well in one of her books. I think it is The Game of Life and How to Play It. But she says, I live by divine law, not by man's law. Or I live by the law of grace, which is divine law, not by the law of karma, which is man's law, right? So in the matrix, it can appear that our fundamental rights can be taken away or given, but that's just an appearance. Our rights are innate. She goes on to say that I am heartbroken that we may now be destined to learn the painful lessons of a time before Roe was made law of the land, a time when women risked losing their lives getting illegal abortions, a time when the government denied women control over their reproductive functions. Government and religion, right? Forced them to move forward with pregnancies they didn't want and then abandon them once their babies were born. Okay, so much in that one paragraph. Okay, destined to learn painful lessons. Number one, the women of the 40s, 50s, and 60s, the decades before Roe v. Wade, were the circumstances of women were completely different than the circumstances of women now. So you and I in 2022 is completely different than the women of the 1960s, 1950s, 1940s. We have more education. We have more money. We have more rights, right? We have embodied our rights. We know our power. Okay, so we can never go back to that time again. We are different as humanity. So the experience of those times cannot be the experience of these times, because we are different. That is the macrocosm at a country level, right? It's the same thing if you come down to a microcosm, and I'm working one-on-one with a client, and she says, oh, I thought I healed that already, and it's coming back up again. And what I tell my clients is, you did heal that it's coming up to take you to the next octave, right? So in the 1970s, when Roe v. Wade passed and women celebrated the freedom to be able to make a choice about their bodies and about pregnancies, was a huge leap for humankind that took them to the next level, that gave them a level of empowerment. Now, with this idea that it's being taken away, that is another huge leap into the empowerment of humanity. It's just going into our next octave. And so we can never go back to what it was. Women have powers now that they didn't have. We have women who perform abortions. Back in the 1970s, 60s, 50s, women were not likely doing that. There is a documentary called The Janes on Netflix about the women who were performing abortions before Roe v. Wade. So just an aside. So those women were ahead of their time, and we are now in a space where we have so much more education, so much more power, so much more confidence, so much more money, so that we will never repeat what has occurred, because we can't go back. We are different people. Now, looking at it at a spiritual level, we're moving to another octave, to a new level of sovereignty. Roe v. Wade being passed was one level of sovereignty. It was like, oh, my government, the men in my government have decided that I am valuable enough to make this decision about my body. That was a huge leap. Now we're moving into our next level of claiming our sovereignty. What's going to happen? Well, there's already, California is saying that they're not going to follow anybody so that they are, so that they can be criminalized for getting an abortion in their state. They're not going to follow up with that. In fact, they're going to find ways to provide abortions for free. wow, that is another level of sovereignty, right? Do you see that? And when when this happens, it awakens people. Now, there is a separation. This decision is, abortion has always been a way to separate humanity, right? It's like, see how different we are, divide and conquer. And so there will be a separation. There will be those people who take a stand for the right of being able to make that decision legally. And there will be those people who go back to ancient wisdom. This is an opportunity to awaken ancient wisdom. Remember our divinity. Remember that we are the authority over our bodies. Remember that I am one with my body, that pregnancy doesn't happen to me, it happens through me. And I have mastery over whether my body receives a pregnancy, whether, we discussed that before, having a soul-to-soul conversation. This is an opportunity to wake up that sovereignty. Some people will do that. Some people will go into changing laws and making sure that this is reversed again. Some people are going to find their purpose in that, and that is perfect. Some people are going to experience the very horrors that Michelle Obama and other people are saying that we're going to go back to. Some people are going to have that experience because their soul desires that experience. Remember, in the higher perspectives, when you're looking down on the matrix, you are remembering, I am not a victim, nor is anybody else a victim. We have all of us incarnated at this time on the planet, have chosen to be incarnated at this time on the planet. And it is super freaking exciting, right? And every single one of us, whether we experience the horrors, our soul does not see it as a horror, our soul sees it as an experience of Roe v. Wade being overturned. Some people are going to use it to catapult the awakening of humanity, right? Now, these decisions, the people who run the matrix, right? Who do we call them? I don't know. Some people call them the cabal, but they understand how the matrix works. So using a decision like this that can have such a profound emotional effect on a multitude of people can create timeline shifts, right? So if you have all of these people going into, I am heartbroken, I'm scared. Let's see, Michelle used a couple of words in here, and let's see. Okay, doomed, horrifying. This horrifying decision will have devastating consequences. Putting this out and people reading it, that is encoding the field, right? We are always constantly encoding the field with our emotions, our words, and our thoughts. And how many millions of people have read this, and the field has been encoded with horrifying and devastating, right? And so my purpose is to share with you that every decision that is being made, we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to buy into the agenda of the matrix and go, oh yes, this is horrifying. This is devastating. This sets women back, 100 years. That is available to tune into that code. What is also available is tune into the code of truth with a capital T, is that everything holds goodness in it. And every time this event happens, right? Anytime this event happens, we have the sovereignty, we have the freedom of it, which can never be taken away, of how we think and how we respond. And how we respond to these situations is what creates what happens next for ourselves, for all of humanity. So my invitation for you is to understand that this is actually taking us to a higher level of sovereignty, if you choose that. Because all of it's available. But how you choose to tune into this experience of going, wow, if I were 100% sovereign, then I would trust my body. I would communicate with my body. I would know my oneness with my body. I would know that I am the master and I am the authority over my body, right? So it's taking that higher sovereignty, that higher perspective to our next level of sovereignty. We're actually moving into a higher octave of frequency on this planet. And individuals in the Supreme Court actually are helping that, even if they don't know they are, by saying, oh, we're going to take this right away from you, we're going to take this right away from you, and we're going to take this right away from you, because I choose and you get to choose. Do we live under man's law or do we live under the divine's law? And when living under the divine's law, rights cannot be taken away. Rights cannot be taken away. So I see this as a glorious opportunity to spark people's minds, to activate their remembrance of who you truly are, activating your remembrance of who you truly are. So instead of allowing the circumstances of the matrix decide for you how you feel today, or what's possible for you or your daughters or your granddaughters or your grandsons, or for that's possible for generations to come, is to see this as a great awakening, because it is absolutely a great awakening. All right, everyone, I'm going to check and see if we have any questions. Love your interpretation. Thank you, Laura. I'm so glad you got to be here. And Anna, so glad you're here. Gloria, beautiful, beautiful. All right. I'm always open to taking suggestions on what you would like me to share higher perspectives on. Know that we are, you can look at the Sophia Mystery School website at thesophiamysteryschool.com, where you can learn how you can mentor with me privately and book a call, fill out an application to do that. And also you can check out our Trinity membership, where we are high vibe all month long, keep you awakening, healing, and taking the steps to your next level, your next octave, every single week of the month. All right, everyone, I will see you next week for higher perspectives, and I have a plan what we're going to talk about, but if something comes up in current events, then we'll definitely talk about that. Have an awesome day. I will see you next time. Mwah. Bye for now.